Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Marissa Explains It All. This is the channel where I talk about beauty, skincare, DIY, crafting, and party planning. So if that sounds interesting to you, please hit subscribe. So it's no surprise to some of you that I am kind of a Sephora snob, okay? I love Sephora and Ulta and just some of the high-end products that they carry. But obviously, drugstore products can be just as good. There are some really great products out there with good formulations. And so I am trying to do a little bit more of a budget-friendly series. So I'm trying to, bring it down a little bit for those sisters who want to spend a little less money on a product and make your dollar stretch a little farther. So today I'm starting out with a Wet n Wild foundation review. So I saw this review, a couple reviews from Tati Beauty, and Tati, I love her. So if she says it's good, it's got to be good. But obviously not every product works for every skin type. So I'm curious to see how it will work on my skin, versus someone else's skin. My skin is it's a combination. It tends to be acne prone, just from kind of hormonal issues, but I also have kind of combination skin. So I'm usually very dry through here. Some I'm, normal through here in my chin, and then oily on my nose. So good luck trying to find a product that's going to work for all that. But so far my favorite to date has been the Fenty Beauty Pro Filter Foundation in the matte formula, not the hydrating. The hydrating didn't work for me. So that has been my holy grail so far. Also love Estee Lauder Double Wear. That is a good one, although a little heavier. So I do only kind of wear that for special occasions. So I'm always on the hunt for something that can kind of live up to that and hopefully work for me. So we're gonna see. So I'm gonna start working my way through some of the drugstore products and foundations and see how they do. So I'm starting off today with two products. They are both by Wet n Wild. So I will show you guys the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Foundation in the liquid formula, and this is what that looks like. This one actually I got in the shade Nude Ivory, and because I'm pale, right? So we talk about that every time I'm on this channel. But I'm got my little cheat card here. But this is a liquid formula. It is $6.50 from Ulta, and I got this from Rite Aid actually, so you could buy this from the drugstore. This comes in 20 shades on the Ulta website and also on the Wet n Wild site, so you can get it. You can get all 20 shades there. And this is supposed to be a matte foundation that has light diffusing, and they say they've tested it in different, lighting scenarios to make sure there's no white cast or flashback that you get sometimes when you take selfies with your light on. And it says it's cruelty free, which is great. It's got the bunny logo on the bottom here, and it is a vegan formula, not tested on animals, of course. Okay, that's number one. We're gonna see how this does. And then the second one I'm testing with you guys today is the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Stick Foundation. And so this one looks like this. This is the packaging, and it is in the shade Classic Ivory. And this is just a traditional stick foundation formula. We'll try that out too and see. This one says it actually comes in, it's $6.50 as well, but it comes in 21 shades on the Wet n Wild website, although I could only find 16 shades at Ulta. So it comes in maybe a few less shades at Ulta. So I don't know why the difference there, but I couldn't find this many shades on the Ulta website. This one is supposed to be a semi-matte finish, but it is supposed to be give you flawless coverage and long wearing and all the things they always claim. It's supposed to have a couple different types of oil in it. So it's going to have some oils in it that kind of help hydrate. So this one is also cruelty free with the bunny and is also a vegan formula. So very cool. We will test that out. So I let my hair down from a ponytail, and this is what it did. So I'm gonna put it back up in the ponytail. Let's put that back up, and then we'll start. Okay, so of course I am starting off with prepped skin. I am starting off with having cleansed and used an essence, a serum, a moisturizer, and an under eye moisturizer before starting in on this. And I'm gonna actually go ahead and prime with my favorite Urban Decay Optical Illusion Primer. And this one is just the one that I love to use. I think it works the best with my skin, and I like to use this because I know it works for my skin, and that way I can get an unbiased review of the product. So of course when I try out these products, I usually use one tool on one side and one on the other. So today I'll be using the Beauty Blender on this side and the foundation brush on this side, just to see if there's a difference in the way that it applies with different tools. And then I will do a couple hours a wear test just to see how it sits and if it's settling any lines before I take that off and try the next product. All right, I brought you a little bit closer so you guys can see some of the details as I'm applying the product. So I'm gonna start with a liquid today. And so we're starting here, and let's just see what this baby looks like. So it is like a twisty top. And when you take it out, oh, it's got a stick on it. Okay, all right. So it's got this stick on it. It is a hard, plastic stick. It's like a paddle maybe, like a little paddle. Interesting. I'll take my foundation brush and just, I guess, collect the product from that and try to do it on one side. Okay, I wasn't prepared for that. Usually you don't have this applicator. So I've got my mirror here. All right, yeah, that's not bad. Not a bad shade match. So yeah, let's see what this does. I'm gonna try to keep this mirror out of the frame so that you guys doesn't focus on that. There's a little bit of a smell to it. It's a little bit like a chemical paint smell, you know. It's actually not unsimilar to the CoverGirl product that I just reviewed recently on my high school makeup challenge video. It seems like that, that type of smell to it, and actually that type of coverage. So it doesn't seem right off the bat that it's really a super full coverage, at least not with the way that this is applying with this brush. It seems streaky. I mean, it seems like there are streaks in it. It's like a light coverage. It's you know, obviously not covering all my spots, but it is covering some. It's a little bit, you know, streaky. Like I said, it's kind of, it's taken a minute to kind of blend in, and there are streaks. So it's not really, yeah, it's kind of hard to blend in. So let me zoom you in a little bit more. Okay, so hopefully you can see a little bit more. It's just, you know, not as full of a coverage, and I don't know if you can kind of tell the streaks. It's not really covering as well as I'd hoped. It's just kind of streaky, so. All right, well, that is the one side. Let me zoom out and I'll do the other. All right, so I'm dipping back into the product, and I'm just going to, I guess, place this on my skin. I don't love the idea of the way this is, that you would apply this on the skin directly, because I mean, I guess unless your skin's really clean, you could have bacteria or oils or something that is now on this, and then you dip it back into the product. So I don't love it. I suppose you could just forego the stick and really just pour it out of the bottle on the back of your hand. I probably would do that on a regular basis, but I wanted to go ahead and at least try to place the product initially and then use my beauty blender to blend it in. So, all right, I'm just applying that, and let's see if this thing wants to blend. So I'm using a clean beauty blender, and we'll see how this does. So again, really not a very heavy coverage. I mean, I'll zoom you in again. So as you can see, I mean, it's really not, the first layer did not cover really much of anything. It's a very like a light coverage. Didn't even cover really like the vein that runs close to my skin, or like any of the spots or acne or anything like that. So I think what I'd like to do is just maybe do another layer, and I think I'll just try to use the beauty blender all over this time for that. Do another layer and try to build up the coverage and see if that works at all. So I'm just placing some on the back of my hands and dipping my beauty blender into it, which is how I would normally apply the Fenty Beauty foundation. So let's do another coat and see if maybe this helps just build up that coverage. It almost makes it look like patchy and dry, which is so weird with a liquid foundation. I don't expect that. So yeah, it doesn't look like very smooth when it goes on. It tends to kind of sit on my skin a little bit and kind of make it look kind of patchy. It's weird. All right, so this is how it's looking, and you know, first impressions, I don't love the way that it is covering. I mean, a second coat did help a little bit, but you know, you can kind of still see really through it, even with two coats on. And I don't like the way that it applies with the foundation brush. The Beauty Blender did give a better result and a smoother finish. So, you know, this might work if you have really good skin and you don't have any marks or anything to cover up, but if you have any kind of acne, scarring, discoloration, hyperpigmentation, or veins or anything like I do that kind of run to the close of your surface of your face, then I wouldn't maybe recommend this right off the bat, but let's see how it wears. I'm actually going to go ahead and finish this, my makeup with this, and then we'll do just a couple hours wear test, and then I'll come back and give you my final thoughts, and then we'll move on to the stick foundation. So I've put the rest of my face products on, and I had a hard time getting this to work. I don't know if you can kind of tell, but it's really difficult to try to get stuff to blend on top of it. So it is still tacky. I did set it with a translucent powder, and I did go ahead and try to put my bronzer on over it, just a powder powder bronzer, and the bronzer and the powder just made it look really like dried, and it didn't sit well on it. Usually when I place my powder on top of my normal foundation, the Fenty foundation, it makes it look smooth and like poreless, and you know, it just kind of smooths and blurs everything out. This one didn't do that. It just made it look like kind of dry and kind of patchy and weird. It didn't sit well on it, but I needed to put something on it to set it because it was still tacky, and it actually still is. Even after using powder, it's still tacky. So anyway, I tried to put my bronzer on top of it, and it just kind of, it was patchy. It doesn't blend well. I kept trying to go over it and like, you know, buff it out and blend, and it just really isn't. It just kind of, it sticks in some places, and it doesn't really blend as well in others. I really tried to go over it a lot and buff this out, and it just is not looking very smooth and blended. I went over it a lot. So, so that happened. And then also it started lifting off the foundation. So like it really kind of lifted off the product as I was trying to buff it out and blend. It just kind of took it off and allowed some of my spots to show back through, which isn't great. Also, you know, same thing happened with the blush. When I tried to place it here, it just kind of was still a bit patchy and didn't really sit well. And then lastly, when I put my highlight on, this is probably less noticeable, but when I put the highlighter on up close, it does look like it's textured, like you can see the texture through it. So right off the bat, maybe it doesn't look so bad, you know, on camera. I can't quite tell until I get into editing what it looks like on camera, but I don't love it in person. It doesn't look very smooth and blended, and it doesn't perform like some of the other brands that I enjoy. So let me let this sit for a bit and see if it settles into fine lines, and I'll come back and try the other product. Alright guys, so it's been a little while, and I am just kind of here with my final thoughts on this product. So far I am noticing a couple things. I'll zoom you in and show you kind of some of the settling. Alright, so if you can see that, it is settling into my fine lines. So it is settled here, and you know, of course here, and I don't usually get it this badly with my other products. So that is one thing that I am noticing. It's actually kind of like going all the way up there. And of course the coverage on my spots isn't very good. So those are the things that I'm kind of noticing up front. And I'm noticing it around my eyes too. So it is kind of cracked here and not super great. I actually asked somebody close to me who could like kind of look at my skin and tell me what they thought. And the comments that I heard were that it looked cheap and that it looked like a 13-year-old had done my makeup. So I probably will pass on this product, and I wouldn't probably try this again, but I may pass this on to someone else who might work for. But so this one is a no-go, but maybe we will get lucky with the next formula. So let's try out the stick foundation. So once again, I am all cleansed and moisturized and primed and everything and ready to go. So I did put on the Urban Decay Optical Illusion Primer, and so I am ready to try out my stick foundation. And so I got this one in the shade Classic Ivory, so let's see how this does. For this application, I'll just be putting this on my skin and then using a beauty blender on one side to try to blend it out, and then the foundation brush on the other side. So I'll stick with the same thing where I had the blender on this side and brush on this side, just to see how this does. Alright, so I don't even know if this matches my skin. I have no idea because I didn't want to try it on in the store, but we shall see. So I'm just gonna like roll this up a bit, and okay, so it's actually a little yellow for my skin, but not horrible. So I'm gonna just kind of brush this on here. I just feel like it helps to kind of be able to see like up close what I'm doing. So, all right, so I'm just gonna go ahead and start blending. Initially, actually, I'm looking, it actually does have a fuller coverage just from the very start. So it's fuller coverage than the liquid was, just from being able to just, you know, quickly gauge that. Of course, I did mention this is a little bit probably yellow for my skin, but I really am just testing the formula today. Even though it's like fuller coverage, I still feel like it is a little light. Of course, you can see my spots and everything through it. So I'm sure I will need a second application. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that and just try to kind of cover up where I need it a little bit more. Okay, so it's still not super full coverage. I mean, you can still see everything even after kind of trying to like put more product where I need it in those little areas, and really just kind of dotting and not really like, you know, dragging out and like dispersing the product too much. It still kind of is not very super full coverage. You know, it was okay. It's certainly a little bit better than the liquid, but you know, so far it's okay. I will try the other side now with the Beauty Blender, because I have not really traditionally had success with foundation brushes in general. So let's see if this side is better. Okay, so doing this with the Beauty Blender to me was a little bit better of a finish. It's not as streaky. It really isn't, it doesn't show the streaks as much. I'm also gonna just try kind of like taking the Beauty Blender and dipping it directly into the product to see what that does on some of those areas where I need more coverage, just to see like how that works. And it actually does work pretty well, actually. You know, just kind of putting it in those little areas and just pressing it in more or less. That seems to work pretty well, but I do kind of feel like I have to use a lot of product to get the coverage that I want. I'm gonna go ahead and just do another like run through with just overall, but as you can see, maybe on, I don't know if you can tell it on the camera, but this side is a little bit better covered than this side, it seems like. So let me go ahead and just kind of conceal and see if I can cover up this other spots on this side with the product, and then I'll kind of finish off the rest of my face. All right, so I am back after applying the rest of my face, and this actually went a lot better than the liquid foundation. I felt like this one really meshed well with my concealer. It really kind of just really smoothly blended underneath. The powder went on and it didn't look patchy or bad. The bronzer was a little rough. It's much more blended than I think that with the liquid, but it still had a tendency to sort of lift the product off, so that I just felt like it was taking the foundation away. And I think that's just the nature of it being not a full coverage product. It's just, I think, maybe a medium coverage product to where it's just easily lifts off. But it didn't feel nearly as tacky as the other one, even considering I had given the liquid more time to even dry down. Well, this is looking pretty good. The comments that I heard on this look once I was finished from the person closest to me was that it looked a lot better than the other one. So I think I can see that, and hopefully that translates on camera too, but it seems obvious that this one is a lot better and easier to blend and easier to work with. So let's give it the old wear test and see how it works. I would like to see if this settles in my fine lines and creases as like the other one did. I know a lot of times stick foundations tend to do that for me. They're just like thicker. There's something about them that really likes to settle in, and maybe especially if they're oil based, I'd be interested in seeing how it does on my nose and if it's just like at all oily. So we'll give this a try and I'll be back. Well, it's been a little bit and I am back for some final thoughts. So this actually held up a lot better than I thought it would. After, you know, a couple hours, usually foundation tends to crease a lot. I mean, there is some settling in my lines. If you can kind of tell here, I'll zoom in a bit more. So you can see a little bit of, the settling into the lines, and, it's kind of typical for me. I mean, I usually do get these kind of creasing a little bit. So I think if you were to just kind of clean these out and kind of smooth it out, it might be okay. But this isn't untypical for, products like this. But the rest of it held up surprisingly well. So, the coverage isn't 100% where I'd like it to be. I mean, I did have to put on a fair amount to get this kind of coverage. I had to put on 2 coats, and of course the Beauty Blender did, provide a better finish overall. But, I don't hate it, to be honest. I mean, it's not like, the best coverage per se, but it did really well for a stick foundation, and I think it could be comparable to some of the other higher end stick foundations that are out there. I think I might wear this again if I was out of product or just wanted to try to change things up a little bit, or maybe just wanted kind of something that would go on smooth and quick and easy and was, semi-natural looking and not overly cakey or heavy. I think I might wear this one. So that is kind of how I feel about it. This one is a, like a semi-go. It's not like something I would probably pick up first and go to, but for the price, it's not bad. You guys can kind of be the judge and see for yourselves what you think. So that is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to doing the next review. Let me know in the comments below what you think. If you have a drugstore product that you've tried that really works well for you, let me know and I will purchase it. I'm looking to do a whole drugstore series on foundations and looking to see which one is the best fit. So I'm probably going to try something like Almay or Physicians Formula or Revlon next. So let me know what your favorite is and I will purchase it and maybe give you a shout out next time on the video. So that's it. I'll see you next time. See you guys.